Imagine if you lived on an island with no one else around. The water, the food, the trees, and anything useful would be yours to enjoy. You would also be confident knowing that anything you made of your food, home, clothing, or boat would be safe from someone else taking it. You would also know that if anything needed to be done, it was up to you to do it. Life might be hard work and even lonely, but there would be no crime or social conflict, for society would not exist. But what happens when your island turns into a society where multiple people can use the same things for themselves and nobody in particular owns anything? Or it's generally understood that everyone owns everything. The Greek philosopher Aristotle wrote, "For that which is common to the greatest number has the least care bestowed upon it. Everyone thinks chiefly of his own, hardly at all of the common interest. Everybody is more inclined to neglect the duty which he expects another to fulfill." In other words, according to Aristotle and many thinkers, when no one owns anything, or everyone owns everything, then you get confusion and general deterioration. When there is a dispersion of responsibility, maintaining public assets is always someone else's job. And why work hard to improve something that other people will just come along and spoil? The institution of private property permits things, objects, houses, factories, land, capital, ideas to be owned by individuals who can then use them in any way they deem fit, as long as they do not unjustly violate others' freedoms. But is private property selfish? Well, that's an important question. Human nature always inclines towards selfishness, and genuinely purposeful living will take seriously the truth that it's more blessed to give than to receive. But human agency being what it is, we all need to have an interest in ourselves. You see, it's one thing to be selfish. It's another thing to be self-regarding. It is good to take responsibility for yourself, and so pursue work in earning, and indeed to pursue ownership of property. In turn, it is good for you to prefer to charitably give to persons and causes that you, not someone else, deem most deserving. Owning private property is ennobling for people and encourages healthy community. It equips people with dignity and responsibility. It gives them possessions that they will protect and cultivate. Owning property, such as a home, gives people a healthy attachment to a place and makes it easier for them to look after their own families and invest in their communities. For this reason, private property encourages healthy communities to develop. The philosopher Roger Scruton argued that a free economy is an economy run by free beings. If you own property, you are more able to be independent. But you are also able to freely develop economic and social relations, start businesses, found schools, join sports clubs, and participate in local politics. Private property is the basis of a community that is both cooperative and free. A community where people can be simultaneously independent and interconnected with others. Private property also produces what economists call efficient outcomes. For example, the French economist Jean-Baptiste Say wrote, "The right of property is the most powerful of all encouragements to the multiplication of wealth." Secure property rights encourage entrepreneurs to start new businesses, knowing that if they succeed, they can keep their wealth and use it for themselves and others. These new businesses not only create jobs for others, but also improve people's lives by creating and selling products that people need. Secure property rights also encourage wealthier countries to invest in less wealthy countries, which also creates jobs and lifts people out of poverty. Finally, secure property rights encourages risky but crucial enterprises like farming and mining, which ensures that sufficient food and resources are available for everyone. The 2022 Index of Economic Freedom shows that countries with strong property rights, in general, tend to make up the world's most prosperous countries, while those with weak property rights tend to make up the world's poorest. There are many factors that cause such disparities, but this is an important one. Alternative to private property, such as state-owned or controlled property, have proven time and time again to be, in the long run, inefficient and impoverishing. The Soviet Union in the 20th century is perhaps history's most salient example of this. All property and all capital were appropriated and effectively owned by the central government, and subsequently loaned out to citizens according to government diktat. And yet, By the time it collapsed in 1991, the economy of the Soviet Union was less than half the size of the economy of the United States, even though the Soviet population was around 40 million people more than the population of the United States at the time. The example of the Soviet Union, along with other socialist economies like Cuba, Venezuela, and Mao's China, all show that governments are not good at managing and controlling large economies. National economies are so complex that no single person or committee of people can adequately plan an economy, no matter how good their data and modelling might be. Governments can help economies function, but in the end, it is private citizens making decisions about how to use their own resources, their private property, that makes an economy work well. But government incompetence is not the only problem. Once governments own or control all the things that citizens need to flourish as individuals, families, and as a society, namely land, manufacturing, essential services, food, healthcare, and employment, then governments have total control over people's lives. Just as governments can give citizens things they need, so they can take them away again if citizens fall out of government favour. The right to private property is good for everyone. It gives people dignity and independence, incentivizes starting businesses, which creates jobs and prosperity, and also prevents governments from exerting too much control over the lives of citizens. We hope you enjoy this series on foundational freedoms. To help you explore these more deeply, check the reading list in the description below and the recommended videos on your screen. And please subscribe to the channel, like the video, click the bell icon, and share with others who may benefit from this content.